Hello, and thanks for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, NECA, LCCI faults President Buhari's directive on food importation after initial hiccups and controversy. LCCI begins medical treatment in India as federal government accuses him of frustrating hospital authorities. Chairman of the Special Investigation Panel for the Recovery of Public Property, Obono Obla, suspended by the presidency, faces possible prosecution. And later on the show, Frank Lampard's Chelsea loses European Super Cup on penalty to Liverpool. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Martins Oloja. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us again. In world economy, if you want to be self-sufficient in food, then you must produce what you eat. To put Nigeria on this path, President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday directed the Central Bank of Nigeria not to give foreign exchange to anybody to import food into the country. This, to him, will bring about steady improvement in agric production and attainment of food security. But groups like the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, and the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, describe the directive by President Buhari as coming at a wrong time. In a separate statement, the group said an immediate blanket withdrawal of Forex for food importation without a window for businesses to adjust might spell doom for the economy. Babajide, when I saw this yesterday, a lot of people were, misinterpreting it as if the president actually was putting a ban on foreign importation of food. But when I read it well, I discovered that, okay, for CBN not to supply Forex for those that bring imported food. I've gotten reports about people that actually right now Nigerians do import pizza from abroad. We've gotten to a situation. There was a time I was in Douala in Cameroon. We're about to take the Atlantic Ocean down to Nigeria. I saw people bringing banana, oranges, things that I know ordinarily that we can always get in this country. Now, but what NECA and LCCI, what they are saying now is that, they would have given them window to adjust. What is your line of thoughts?
Well, first, this was just a statement by the president, and ideally, the president should have couched this statement in form of an advice to the CBN, because the CBN is supposed to be to have autonomy. It is not right for the president to simply be backing out orders to the CBN governor, because even that is antithetical to the autonomy that the CBN is supposed to enjoy. The CBN governor knows what to do. The CBN governor has supported the president's desire to stimulate agri production in our country. And the LCCI guys also acknowledge that some progress have been made in that area. I know that the president has said that, look, we are not going to set aside money for rice importation, for example, because we can produce enough rice in our country. Of course, that is a fact. We can produce enough rice in our country,
but we have not
reached that point. We are not producing enough to feed our people. Agric excels based on technology. We do not have the technological wherewithal to produce, at this time, enough rice to feed our nation. We do not produce enough yield per hectare that can guarantee that across border, across the country, that we will have enough. Yes, government is saving tons of foreign exchange that it ordinarily would have spent on rice. Because Nigeria used to be the biggest importer of rice. But today, Nigeria is the #1 dumping ground for imported rice. And I keep saying Lagos is a big city in terms of population. Go around, go to the biggest rice markets in Lagos. It's the foreign rice that is thriving. This is verifiable. It's not something that Babajide comes on air and simply says. And you see
Daleko markets.
Daleko, all of the markets. It's not because someone was saying the other day that in Abuja the bulk of the rice that they consume is local. I said the rice that you consume in Abuja is not up to what comes out of one market, one rice market in Lagos alone. I said the whole rice that you consume in Abuja is not up to what comes out of one rice market in Lagos alone. Because from that rice market, rice is even going further deep into our country. That's from one rice market in Lagos. I remember in those days, we used to even come and buy rice from Ilorin, all the way from Ilorin. We used to come and buy rice in Ladipo, in Daleko.
That's their headquarters,
Yes.
that's their hub.
Yes, when I was in the late 80s. So this is the point. We have to first know. I agree that it's good to protect local farmers. Donald Trump is doing that excellently in America. He's subsidizing food production. And everyone is happy about that, except the enemies of the country. We are on the path to achieving that, but we still have a long way to go. If you want to stop, for example, you want to stop importation of concentrates, tomato concentrates, into our country, there has to be a window whereby, because there are companies here employing Nigerians, you know, so there has to be a window, a kind of moratorium to say, okay, after 4 years, no more. So that those companies can come up with a plan to systematically wind down. Not that you just take that decision, you know, in a rush. That is what those guys are saying. That look,
LCCI.
that we even need to have full details. When we talk about food, what are those things that we are talking about? Because, for example, jam that children used to eat rice is food.
Bread.
Jam.
As in jam, they used to use bread.
Yes, they used to eat bread. It's food. So now, how many, can you say that Nigeria will produce enough of it?
Do we even produce?
That is the question. Can you say that? So, and there are other items like that. And there are other items like that that we can talk about, that you cannot say, like even the concentrates. Are we producing enough to say, no, we don't want any foreign, tomato concentrates? Because I will monitor some of these things. We can see that even some of those farms are struggling. So let us continue to encourage the farmers. Fine. For example, wheat production. I want to see us move higher in wheat production. Take Nigeria to the level that we were in the 60s and 70s.
Massive.
But that would take time. That would take time. Before then, we can't say no, a blanket ban.
Massive, I think the president just said it's out of, you know, the love of wanting, encouraging our farmers inside here, that some things we can do. Don't want to bring in bread. You don't want to bring. At a point in time, people have started bringing in jollof rice, as in from China.
Yeah, definitely.
Jollof rice.
Hey, you know,
Soup, even water. The other day, some people imported water.
Yes, you know, Jide has given the background to the arbitrariness in this thing and the directive to the CBN. And I think these are basic pieces that people need to know. However, you know, this is a very sensitive policy that the president just discussed with only his party men when they visited him in Daura and he was discussing this thing. And I think that it's our responsibility to contextualize it and say, look, what the LCCI and Manufacturer Association of Nigerian people are talking about. These are the things that we have been talking about.
Okay.
They too, and so many of us need to think out of the box. We discussed this thing very exhaustively at the editorial board of The Guardian yesterday. And we had some experts who are professors of agriculture, and so many of these things were emotional about this thing when we were discussing this thing. And I will share, this is a platform, it's a media platform, where we need to educate people and inform people about some of these things. What the president said, the way he said so was arbitrary. The way he gave directive to CBN, he didn't have to give directive to CBN. CBN even banned 41 items the other time without directive and all those things, and they had also itemized the gains from those directives. But, you know, the thing that we should take away from this is that this is a challenge, not just to us, to even the governors who were there. Because even while the president was talking, he mentioned some states like Kebbi, Kano, and so many, Jigawa, so many states that have been doing something that is not sufficient.
But that's rice production.
There is rice production. There are other items. And I think it should be seen by even LCCI members and MAN members as not a problem, but an opportunity to do something about self-sufficiency in food production. Let me read one quote we got yesterday, where we were considering this thing by Khalil Gibran, that pity the nation that is full of beliefs and empty of religion. Pity the nation that wears a cloth it does not weave and eats a bread it does not harvest. You know that we are eating so much, especially the elite people who are eating this jam, whose children are eating this jam and all those things like that. There should be some national reorientation about Nigerian food items that we should go back to do, because we should look at the opportunities that are available in this arbitrariness, quote unquote, by the president. What he is telling us is that entrepreneurship should be promoted, and that it is not that it is going to be easy. We are aware of smuggling that is encouraging this thing that Jide talked about. We are aware that there are other forms, sources of Forex that people can exploit, even if the CBN does not give them, that the government needs to ban. So it's just a policy statement that CBN and Agric Ministry, among other inter-ministerial bodies, can work on to work out the details of how this thing will work, because it's not so easy like that. We have had directives, but I think we have got to a stage in our national life where we need to talk about nation building through this way, creating job opportunities for our people, even young school leavers who are engaged in so many activities that we are even not happy about now, that it can create employment opportunities. But they need to be more serious about this thing. It is not just about just criticizing and just saying, oh, it is not going to work. It may not be something that will get the gains immediately, but it is a challenge to the nation to get involved in agriculture. Let me give you this example. We can talk about Awolowo and his days. They established University of Ife. It was only in 1975 that the federal government seized Ife. The University of Ife, among other things that he did, the television station, the first in Africa, and so many of those things like that, were built through agriculture in Western Nigeria. Okay. And so many other things like that. I think that most of these things are not new. We can get back to it if we are serious as a nation. I think yes.
Actually, I think the conversation
this is, I think, the way Martin, we should think.
I think we should end the conversation with looking inwards and start doing things ourselves, and government should create a kind of enabling environment so that we can start.
That is the thing. For example, even we are all aware that the CBN has been boosting agriculture, you know, especially cassava farming, rice farming, but those measures are not enough.
Yeah.
If anyone says that, look, at this point, let's just ban, that person does not know what he's saying.
We have not,
the smuggling, will not even allow what you want to achieve to be achieved. Because we do not produce enough of a lot of these items. And when you do not produce enough, wherever people can get it, they will go for it. Go to even the Nigerian border towns, including in the president's home state of Katsina, and see foreign rice coming into the country. When we produce our own rice and we take it to the level of foreign rice, more people will show that interest in our own product. But we must get to that level first. Be sure that we have reached that level. If we don't get to that level, then the policy can't kick in immediately.
Just a small point.
we are out of time, Martin. I have to go to the next.
It's okay,
topic.
no problem. Okay. We'll continue.
All right. There seems to be no end in sight to the Ibrahim El-Zakzaky drama in his struggle for freedom with the Nigerian state. After a court-sanctioned trip to India for medical treatment, more controversies erupted when El-Zakzaky, in an audio message, complained about the doctors brought to treat him and the tight security at the hospital. The leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria even threatened to return home rather than subjecting himself to ill treatment, prompting the federal government to accuse him of frustrating hospital authorities. But after the initial hiccups, the spokesman of the IMN, Ibrahim Musa, confirmed that El-Zakzaky started receiving treatment at the Medanta Hospital in New Delhi, India. Yesterday, I went through the story, and it said the atmosphere, the facility in the hospital and everything, and I was like, India to Nigeria. And where he was in Nigeria was even better than where he is now, that he wasn't cooperating with them. And I felt that this might be a setback. Immediately, some of his groups, they started addressing a press conference that his life, they addressed the press conference, his life is endangered and everything. And I looked at it that this might be costly. Babajide?
I think it makes sense for Sheikh El-Zakzaky to submit himself to medical examination and treatment, because if he fails to do that, then he's pushing himself closer and closer to his grave. We all know that after the 2015 shooting incident, that he has had an intolerable level of lead in his body. And lead poisoning and cadmium poisoning can kill. The poisoning resulting from lead and cadmium can lead to multiple organ failure, which could take his life. So his situation is dire at this time. That was why even the foreign doctors that came to examine him, they all talked about the fact that his situation was dire. So in such a situation, he should not waste any time. We should allow those physicians to look after him and try to solve the problem. We've seen people go to India and return in form of body bags. It's not as if everyone that goes there comes back alive. But we do not pray that he will die in the process. But at this stage, and being someone already advanced in age, he does not need this kind of self-inflicted shadow chasing. So he should submit himself to treatment. He is particularly disoriented by the fact that there are too many security people around him. But it's the nature of
conditions.
He is not, just as the government statement said, he is not in India on a tourist visa.
Honestly.
He is there to receive medical treatment. So the kind of five-star treatment that someone who has come to India to spend his money in their iconic tourist centers will get, he should not expect to get, because the government is doing, the government is doing its best to ensure that he does not from India end up somewhere else. They want him to come back home and continue his treatment. And that's why all of those people have gone with him. So a situation in which he looked around and found far too many people than he expected was what prompted him to be saying that, oh, this condition, this security condition is worse than it is in Nigeria, because probably there are just 2 operatives who look after him in Nigeria. People don't know the exact spot where he's detained. So you will expect that there are not going to be many people around him in Nigeria. So that there's no basis for comparison. In India, Indian operatives too will be there to ensure that you do not breach their laws. Nigeria has also sent its own operatives, DSS operatives are with you. And representatives of the Kaduna state government, they are there. So he's a detainee who is receiving treatment, a high-priced detainee. So you should expect there will be so many people around him. It's just like if Escobar, the bad man of Colombia, if he was receiving treatment somewhere, maybe in America, he should expect that even that hospital will look like a maximum security prison because they know the implication of Escobar escaping. So this is the thing. But I'm happy that they've agreed. You are here, you are there to receive treatment, not to have unlimited access to visitors. You are not going to have unlimited access to visitors. No. If you thought that being outside Nigeria will guarantee him access to an unlimited number of visitors, then it's mistaken. But I'm happy because the Indians too stood their ground and no, you will receive this treatment on our terms. You cannot dictate the particular doctor that will take care of you. It's unethical. So now they've agreed that, okay, the treatment can continue. So I'm happy that that has happened, and I'm sure that lessons have been learned.
I wanted to ask, because he was complaining that there were some doctors that they agreed was going to treat him, that he's seeing strange people now, and I was like, does that change anything?
Well, definitely, you know, he has the right. If they had agreed to certain conditions in Abuja, and when they got to India, they began to see strange things. You will remember what happened to Abiola, what happened to Yaradua, and some others. As a citizen, you know, many people do not know that El Zakzaki is very educated. That's a first-class economist, first-class graduate. You know, he's very educated, so he knows what he's talking about. But this is not about education, this is about life. And he should subject himself, and he should you know that he needs to be treated at that age. Asking for a 5-star hotel, asking for his own passport and all those conditions that he didn't agree to from here, given the fact that even the state security officials that were with him had a responsibility to ensure that he will be brought back to Nigeria to face his trial, because there could be possible abduction. Anything could happen. Anything could happen in India. If they gave him his passport, they allowed him in a 5-star hotel without security content and all those things like that. Interested. And even a sect there had agreed to pick all his medical bills. And, yes.
I saw a protest in front of his office, hospital yesterday.
So whatever happened there, what he is asking, it is good, as he said, that they have resolved that he should be treated, and he will be treated. This is, however, a lesson to show that this is shameful, that either the leader of our country, a high-profile patient like this one, whose own either prosecution and medical treatment has assumed the national security dimension, will not have facilities in the most populous African nation to be treated. It is still something that I think our state actors should reflect on, that we have to take El Zakzaki to India for treatment, and even our leaders have to go out all the time for treatment, and they still do not pay attention to medical facilities, hospital development, medical care in this place, even primary health care in this country. This is an opportunity to look within and see that this is a reproach that we should remove very soon.
A reproach we should remove very soon. Yeah. Still to come, Chairman of the Special Investigation Panel for the recovery of public property, Okai Obono Obla, suspended by the presidency, faces possible prosecution. Stay with us. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back. This is Journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. Babajide, we're still looking at Sheikh El-Zakzaky, and he has his followers in Nigeria. Although the federal government, officially that movement has been banned, IMN, but they still have this voice. They still organize press conferences and everything, and they say if the need be, they might still take to the streets. I'm looking at this. That's now the federal government has done everything it should do to make sure that the life of El-Zakzaky is secured. So taking to the street, disturbing public peace should not be it again.
No, I don't expect that to happen. And they are educated people. Those guys, they are very educated. That's where they are different from Boko Haram. They plan their actions very well. Before they went to court, they said, no, we will stop protests. And then they went to court, because they saw, they felt that if they didn't go to court, he would be in detention in perpetuity. They've achieved their aim, and nobody would doubt the fact that this man was in a very bad state. Because for foreign doctors to come from 7 different countries and pronounce the same verdict on his state of health shows that Zakzaky was in a very bad state. Now,
his wife?
Yes, largely because of the shrapnel that went into their bodies during when the army invaded their headquarters. So nobody can deny that, yes, this man deserves good treatment.
He has lost so much
now
too.
He's in India, because India makes so much money from medical tourism. People come from the West, from all parts of the world. There are some hospitals that are as beautiful as a 5-star hotel. I don't know if he had those ones in mind when he was saying that he should have been taken to a 5-star facility and all that. But in the request for bail, the name of the hospital was attached, and that is the court the granting bail said he should be taken to that hospital. So at this point, there is no going back. That is the hospital that you wanted. That is the hospital.
It was one that chose it.
Yes. It was in their bail application. That is the hospital that the court mandated that you be taken to. It wasn't the Kaduna State government. If it was the state government that chose the hospital for them, they could say, no, they want to set him up so that they will eventually inject him to death. But it's their own hospital. Then you cannot, at this stage, try to shift the goalpost. I don't know how many Indians that he has seen in his life to be able to recognize that these were the doctors that he wanted, and then he got there and he didn't see those doctors. If the doctors who work in the hospital, the management of the hospital can rotate, can choose the ones that will attend to you.
Better than the
yes, even the ones that you've seen in pictures, because you didn't see them physically, may not even be as good as those guys. Remember the guy that had 8 limbs. These Indians, that was around maybe 2006 or so, they successfully did surgery and removed the extra limbs. The guy was already being worshipped as a deity in India. But their doctors, did extremely well, removed the extra limbs so that the guy can live a normal life. So I have absolute confidence in India, in the India doctors when it comes to medicine, and I'm sure that they will give their best, but they don't have to be distracted. And what El-Zakzaky has done amounts to distraction. I listened to the audio tape and I'm like, this man does not know what is into, because you are
You're speaking.
yes, in Hausa complaining about the condition. I think that the number of people that he saw was what really unsettled him. That why? Yes, you need a bit of privacy, but you must remember that you are not an ordinary person, and the way you got to that place was not ordinary. You got to that place after a fight, you know. So you will not get the privacy that he wants, because it's not like you and I.
Martin, so that should rest the case. It should go for, it should be treated and come back to Nigeria and continue his trial.
It should rest the case, especially since he has is accepted the terms and is being treated. And I think he should accept the terms, and he should know that he's not there as a tourist. He's there as a patient. And the condition is not that he himself decided to go on his own, and that he should accept that the security operatives have a responsibility to ensure that he is safe in that place and he can safely return home to face his trial. That he should know that what is important at this juncture is his own safety, his treatment, so that he himself, he and his wife can regain their health, because they are no longer, they are not young. They should be treated in India, and I insist that we should begin to look at our hospitals at home so that such people and our leaders can be treated at home.
All right, moving on now. In life, role reversals are frequent sights in human dealings, such that the hunter can become the hunted in moments of truth. The chairman of the Special Investigation Panel for the Recovery of Public Property, Okai Obono Obla, has been suspended by the presidency, according to a letter to that effect, which was delivered to the Solicitor General of the Federation. Obono Obla will face criminal prosecution on matters relating to alleged financial dealings upon conclusion of investigation by the ICPC. Babajide, I thought this was all about his certificates at the initial stage, because for months, there was a kind of campaign, sustained campaign and crusade that this man went to University of Jos with a forged Wahed certificate, and he actually read law. And somebody drew my attention that he actually read law without a literature in English for his WAEC result, and that has made headline for a lot of time. And I don't know, maybe that could be was substantiated at the end of the day, or he was found culpable in the line of his duty, serving as the chairman of this special recovery panel.
Well, for about 2 years now, he's been moving from one problem to another. And it's not simply the fact that his credentials appear dodgy, that he has problems. I think the way he has conducted himself as chairman of that panel has really been of concern. There was a time that the Attorney General even ordered him not to make statements about the anti-corruption crusade, because he was going all over the place like a swashbuckler, talking and making some statements that embarrassed the government. So the Attorney General moved in and said, see, do not, unless you take permission from me, do not go ahead and address Nigerians, And there have been allegations of abuse of office, intimidation. In fact, somebody talked about the fact that he actually had his own detention facility where he kept people. You can't do that. Even the investigative panel itself, by the law establishing it, is supposed to investigate cases that the federal government bring up and hand over to him. But he is said to have taken it upon himself to investigate up to 50 different cases. And some of them is done, the investigation in a malicious manner and all that. So problems are bound to arise when you go beyond your brief in the exercise of your duty. So this is the problem that it has. But the worst of all is the allegation of dodgy credentials that has refused to go. People have talked repeatedly about that, about the fact that he has dodgy credentials. And let's not forget, there was a court case that got to appeal, the appeal court, where it was established that Oboy Oblast panel does not have prosecutorial powers, and it has not got the power to seize properties from politicians or other people that it is investigating. EFCC can seize people's properties based on a court order. They must first go to court and obtain an order of the court to seize your property. But if Oboy Oblast had been seizing people's property when his panel has not got such powers, then he should expect that at some point he will be resisted. And that is what we are seeing. I'm telling you that the Attorney General had been embarrassed by all kinds of reports coming to his desk about the way Oblast had conducted the business of that presidential panel. And I think that at some point they told themselves in the presidency that his cup was full. You know?
When the former finance minister had this kind of problem, and when she resigned and from the cabinet and she left, a lot of people were still making reference to this Oboy Oblast, that this man has been there, why still keeping him?
And you know, that should have made him to be more careful, not to have extra legal powers like that he has been using, that he was not to arrest, he was not to seize assets, he was not to prosecute. Even a court reaffirmed that. But even in this case now, they found out that he got illegal secondment of about 100 policemen to his own office for 100, up to 100. And that all
how many do we have on the streets left to
and then
to run after kidnappers?
As he said, normally he was supposed to have conducted his own quiet investigation and he'll hand over to the Attorney General of the Federation. But he has been doing, although he has been recruiting lawyers to prosecute cases as if he were an EFCC or ICPC or Code of Conduct tribunal. You know, he assumed so much power. You know, one thing about this thing is that they called him, they talked to him. He admitted and they told him not to do these things again. They called him, the presidency called him, the Attorney General got him to the president's men. They told him that, look, this is a court ruling. This is not your brief. You are not supposed to do all these things. He agreed that he would not do it, but he did not comply with the agreement that they said he signed, according to the story. He signed an agreement with them not to overreach himself, not to carry out briefs that his own special panel should not carry out. He carried out all these things, and now this is what has happened. You know, people have been blaming the presidency over what you said, that if what is good for the goose is also sauce for the gander. So this is exactly what has happened, and I think it should be noted that this is exactly as we have consistently said on this platform, that this is what the office of the president should do. He should be seen to be handling and punishing his own men, the people in the office of the president, people who work for him. And this is what will restore confidence in the anti-corruption crusade.
Babajide, I kind of have a problem with this certificate thing. it's becoming so difficult to track down people with fake certificates. We have WAEC in Nigeria, we have JAM in Nigeria, we have all the schools, and even foreign universities. A colleague of mine was discussing with me over the weekend, and he told me that he just did a mail to a Nigerian university and did the same mail to a foreign university to get the identity of an individual. That an hour later, the international school actually sent a reply and disclosed the identity of that person, and the Nigerian school is yet to get back to him. So if we have people high up there and they could circumvent the process to get into our institution, and is now a public knowledge, don't we have screening process that these people go through before they assume this kind of positions?
The screenings are usually dodgy. If they were not dodgy screenings, they would have discovered that Adeosun did not do NYSC. They would have discovered that the bearded former Minister of did not also serve his country. So what kind of screenings were they doing? You know, those screenings must be really suspect, because at the end of the day, it doesn't yield anything. A man who's been made a minister will spend money, he will get people to lobby the National Assembly. Yeah. At the end of the day, his candidature sails through. It is the president and his people who should ensure that such people do not even get nominated in the first place. If there are issues, it's not difficult to find out if someone passed through a university. Even some of the people who went to school with him will be able to testify. So it becomes, if people keep saying, no, this person did not obtain this certificate from this university, he should be able to tell us his mates, his schoolmates. Remember when they said the Bankole didn't do youth service? And his mates came out. Those are NYSC pictures. Yes. So these things are verifiable. So we don't leave the schools, and we know that some of those schools are compromised. When big men take money to them to keep quiet, schools even sell certificates now. But at the end of the day, if you and I didn't pass through, if you said you have this certificate, what year? People will be able to ask.
Once you answer that, Lagos, you went to
we do not know this guy as someone who belongs to our set. So this is the thing. Falsehood can travel 1,000 miles. But in one day, the truth will catch up. So those of them hanging around the corridors of power with fake certificates, one day they will be discovered.
All right, we'll quickly take this break. When we come back, Mia Akiri will join us. Welcome back. Now, tradition of keeping track with sports-related events, especially the great game of football. The heat is definitely turned on the Chelsea manager and club legend Frank Lampard after his team lost the UEFA Super Cup to rivals Liverpool in Istanbul on Wednesday. The match, which was the first all-English Super Cup tie and the first major European club competition to be officiated by female referees, ended 2-2 after extra time. But the Reds triumphed 5-4 in the ensuing penalties to win the first trophy of the season. Lampard and his boys can, however, take some positives from the match, having lost their opening Premier League tie against Manchester United by 4-0. Mia Akiri joining us.
Good to be here. Many thanks.
I didn't see the ladies yesterday. What was that about, the female referees?
Well, a good one indeed from the French referee when they took charge of that match, ensuring that coming into the UEFA system speaks volume, and we've not seen that happen before. Yes, she has also officiated in the French league and all that, but getting to see that in UEFA is a new one, and kudos to her, you know, for handling the tempo fairly okay, handling the tempo of a big game of that magnitude. I think it's a good one from UEFA and a good one from her.
But Babajide, this Super Cup, I'm hearing it for the first time. As in, I've not been following. So, who and who are qualified to play the Super Cup?
No, it's usually the winners of the Europa League and the Champions League. And it's been there for so long. You know, when we had the UEFA Cup, they were always playing. I remember Sevilla even beating Barcelona. Sevilla won the Europa Cup. Beat Barcelona.
So this starts at the beginning of the season?
During the time of Frank Rijkaard as coach of Barcelona. So he's always been there. Even during the time of Manchester United in 1999.
When they won the treble?
Yes, they played the Super Cup and they lost. So it's not really a new thing. But for the first time, two English clubs were meeting. Spanish clubs have repeatedly met in the Super Cup.
So the hype for yesterday was exceptional.
Remember that even Atletico Madrid defeated Real Madrid in the Super Cup. But this time, it's two English clubs and they were playing the Super Cup, and it was a beautiful atmosphere. The standard was high. Many people like to describe it as a glorified friendly, because coming so early in the season, they believe that players have not peaked.
The stakes are not too high.
But the standard was high. I think that Chelsea played very well yesterday. The incisive passes in front of the D reminds me of how Frank Lampard coached Derby. And teams have
Derby County.
Yes, teams have to be very wary of Chelsea this season. With what I saw yesterday, they deserve to win the match. The chances they created were better. They did very well in the course of the game, and you can be sure with Pulisic on the left and the young man Mount, Chelsea will hurt teams on the flanks.
Mia, what's the inconsistency in terms of what's the name, Liverpool about? I thought coming from the winner of the Champions League, they will be fired up, and Chelsea did not start the season so well. They didn't have a good outing in the transfer market, and I felt that, automatically I didn't just give Chelsea a chance over Liverpool.
Well, everyone expected a whitewash after seeing what happened against Manchester United in the hands of Liverpool last night. But it didn't happen that way. Some of the things we've discussed also here was the fact that Frank Lampard, made some mistakes in the game against Manchester United. Yes, Pulisic had a false start yesterday, and we saw what he could do. We realized that on the left flank, from the defense, Emerson and indeed Pulisic, the combination was a threat, for Liverpool's defense on the right hand side. But then, in the midfield ensured that Chelsea. Even the final third. You understand? In fact, he made the assist. It was a good call bringing in N'Golo Kante. Even when Frank Lampard admitted that he was not 100% fit, but it lasted the entire 120 minutes, and for me was the best player on the field of play. That's one positive. Secondly, I think there has been the issue of Tammy Abraham, Olivier Giroud. Yes, experience-wise, being a World Cup winner, Olivier Giroud deserves to be the first choice striker for Chelsea. Two things that I observed from Olivier Giroud last night. When he made himself available for the final pass from N'Golo Kante for the first goal, he realized that Joel Matip was moving closer, to the Chelsea player with the ball, and he clearly positioned himself. That's one thing Tammy Abraham must work on going forward if he indeed wants to be a starter at Chelsea Football Club. But all about you for is winning matches and winning trophies. Lampard does not have that.
Those who will play. I'm happy that he's investing in young players with Christensen and Kurzuma. Both of them are in their early 20s, and they've done well. Kurzuma didn't do very well against Manchester United, but yesterday, in my view, he did very well. And there's no point brooding over the departure of David Luiz, who is already in his 30s. Invest your faith in the young players. They will come good. And once they come good, it will Chelsea will take some stopping.
Is Chelsea definitely will be playing the Champions League?
Chelsea Football Club?
Yes. They're playing Champions League.
Yes.
So their chances with what you've seen.
Well, before we even take a look at the Champions League, I think this is the first time ever since Abramovich bought Chelsea that people are not giving Chelsea a chance to win the Premier League. So that douses the tension on Frank Lampard. But then we also know that Chelsea is a very competitive club in England, London precisely, and everyone expects them to indeed start winning matches. But then Lampard does not have a large squad. You don't lose your best players. Eden Hazard left. And I don't think at this point in time they have a player who would step into the shoes of Eden Hazard. Well, I want to disagree a bit that the defense of Chelsea was also a bit suspect yesterday. Liverpool caught them sleeping not once, not twice, but they didn't cover their chances. And going forward against bigger teams in the Champions League, they'll pay for it. Even in the Premier League.
That's the best club in the world, playing against Chelsea.
I agree.
You need to remember that.
Yeah, Kiri, thank you.
No,
Said Chelsea will pay for it. So I'll hold on to that and look.
Quote me on that.
We'll see. Well, the team that I saw yesterday, they didn't play like an inferior team to Liverpool. They deserve to win. They got the better chances. So it's just sometimes in football you have to be lucky. A team that hits the woodwork twice in the game, in the first half alone, you should know that they did very well.
Thank you, Miyake. Thank you for your intervention. BKO, thank you for always being there. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. And also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Zubaku. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.